Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Beer Guys Radio Brews and News, where we've got cold beer and hot news. This week, we're going to be talking about two of America's favorite pastimes. We're going to be talking beer and baseball this week. I am Tim Dennis, and with me is my co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Tim. So we're discussing the top beers at major league stadiums, some beers brewed by ball players, breweries, and at ballparks, which is a thing. It's a thing. And a special beer commemorating the Centennial anniversary of the Negro Leagues. And if you've got something you want to share about one of our stories, just follow the link in the chat, and we'll let you join us on the show.
It's going to be a good time, man. And don't forget to catch our regular show, Beer Guys Radio. You can get that by following that QR code right up there in the corner. It'll take you right to our listen page where you can find your local station or listen to the podcast. So just follow the QR code and it will make you happy. Brian, before we get into this, let's talk about our beers, man. What are you drinking today?
I was looking around actually for one of the beers we were teasing there, the intro. I could not find it. It's not actually in the state yet. So I went with a beer that's available originally as a stadium exclusive for Mercedes-Benz Stadium, ATL Easy Ale, and now it's just kind of regularly available. It's sports themed, so it's about as close as I could get. I got one that would be fine drinking at any kind of game, a little Jenny Green. And just because it's timely and because at the end of any good game of sports, you have a victory. So at the end of this, I will probably have a victory myself. Golden Monkey, they are on the show this week, and I haven't had Golden Monkey in a while. We did not drink this one on the show, so I will
good stuff. Good stuff,
sometime
man.
Tonight.
Well, I am kind of like you that I'm parallel, Brian, to what we have going. I have a Terrapin Watermelon Goza, and Terrapin is one of the breweries we'll talk about here. They've got a few connections to baseball, but I couldn't find any more of their baseball-y beers, so it's going to be the Watermelon Goza. Also, we're going to have one from our guest a couple weeks ago, Jackie O's. I've got their Under a Cloud here that we really enjoyed, so I'll crack into that and enjoy it. So, Brian, what's happening in the news?
All righty, so let's get started with the Denver Beer Company failing to purchase the Rockies, responding to fan frustration over the direction of the team over the past few years. Denver Beer Company started a GoFundMe to purchase the team. The goal was to raise $1 billion, and they ran a little short, just a little bit. As of the May 1st deadline, they had raised a whopping $6,130. Despite not quite making the goal, the brewery still plans to make an official offer for the team with the funds raised. In the off chance that offer is not accepted, they don't not take $6,000 for the team plus change. The funds will instead be donated to the Colorado Restaurant Foundation's Angel Relief Fund, which helps hospitality workers who have been negatively impacted by the pandemic. So it'll go to a good cause if it doesn't wind up buying a baseball team.
I mean, props to them for the effort. You know, they put it out there. I wonder what the largest GoFundMe or fundraiser ever is. I wonder what they've done, because I think I saw something back during the elections. I think there was something political to raise $1 billion or $1 trillion or some crazy amount like that. And of course, they didn't make the goal. But I'm curious what the most ever actually successfully raised on one of those is.
Every now and then you see like a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter that goes way exceeds their goals by like $100,000 but that's kind of the rarity now. People got, when that first started and people first became aware of the idea of like, oh my God, we can all get together and raise a bunch of money and do this thing or make this thing happen.
Right.
People got used to it. So breweries aren't getting tons of money anymore when they start out, unless they've got a really cool concept and a lot of, good people behind them that are willing to support them. So don't know. I've seen a few. I don't off the top of my head have any idea what the largest one was. I would have looked into it though, actually.
Yeah, it is tough to get those funds now. But like you said, there was a time when you'd put out a Kickstarter, it was guaranteed to fund. People wanted the brewery there. It was almost, we were just printing money on that. So cheers to Let Us Drink Beer. Thanks for joining us on Periscope there. Drinking a Tucker Lager. That's a good one, man. That'd be a good ball game beer.
Yeah, for sure.
Tucker Lager there. That would definitely be a nice one to check out. So they make nice crispy boys over there, Brian.
They do. I almost picked one up for this show, and then I saw some other things that were a little closer to the theme. I'm not saying the Tucker Lager wouldn't be a great baseball.
I actually looked for some Jenny cream myself when I was out today, and the store didn't have it. I was hugely disappointed, man. Hugely disappointed. You going to swag up over there?
That's right.
Yeah, represent.
Since
Well,
they
good
were
stuff.
nice enough to send us some swag.
Yeah, some cool stuff. They're nice hats, actually. Actually, the hat I got, I like. I think it looks fairly decent on me. It fits well. So, anyhow, Brian, let's get on to the next story here. Let's talk about the most popular beers at MLB stadiums. So, this is Listwire tabulated this list using untapped data, looking at the most popular beers, the most checked-in beers at each MLB stadium. So that's something we kind of have to take into consideration with this. Is this based on untapped check-ins? So, of course, I'm sure there's a lot of beers thrown back out there that probably don't make it to untapped. Probably
Sure.
a lot of people out there drinking beers that aren't exactly untapped users. So have to take that for what it is. But Philly Fanatics, they go for Cloudwalker Hazy Juicy IPA from Victory Brewing, Brian. So that is our guest this week, Victory Brewing. You can hear us talk to them. That show drops tomorrow, actually. So you can look out for that. Atlanta Braves, the home team, man. When you're out at Truist Park, you're going to be sipping Luau Crunkles the most, according. I think that is a POG IPA, Brian.
I believe so. I should have
POG IPA.
I should have looked for that. It didn't even occur to me for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the most popular one there at Truist Park. At Fenway Park, Red Sox fans down 617 from Lord Hobo Brewing Company. Rockies fans make no secret of their citrus mistress from Hop Valley Brewing Company. So that's it. Now, Brian, as I was going through this, I didn't expect that I would see many macros on the list because untapped check-ins. I mean, usually if you're the type to go out and pound a bunch of macro beers, you're probably not an untapped user. But I guess you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, Brian. You shouldn't do that. So now, of course, some of these craft brands that we're talking about are owned by the macro breweries, but specifically looking at macro beers, you've got Miller Lite is the most popular one for Cleveland fans. So Cleveland's going for the Miller Lite, and both St. Louis and, surprisingly to me, is Toronto, all about Budweiser at their stadiums there. And so, of course, you want to see the full list of all the breweries, all the beers most popular at each MLB stadium. You can find that on Listwire, and also VinePair did kind of a synopsis of it out there.
They did. So no mentions of hams or Jenny cream at any of these.
I did not see a hams or a Jenny cream there, Brian. So we just that's what it was. Like I said, a handful of macros listed on there. That was kind of interesting to see that.
I did notice the most winningest beer in terms of popularity at stadiums. I don't know if you noticed this. One of the ones you mentioned is the most popular at 3 different stadiums.
I didn't see which one was that.
Citrus Mistress is
Really?
Is the number 1 beer for the Colorado Rockies, people watching the San Francisco Giants, and the Seattle Mariners. So it's got all 3.
Okay.
So
have you ever had that beer?
I've not. No, now I want to have it. ISO, Tim. ISO.
Have to look out for it. Absolutely.
So we talked about breweries at MLB stadiums, and for me, the first ones that come to mind are Terrapin ATL Brew Lab here at Truist Park in Atlanta. Yeah, and you're drinking one. I don't have one of the beers with me. And guests of the show from a few years ago, Against the Grain. They're at the Louisville Slugger Field in Louisville, Kentucky. But there are a few more that are out there. I'm actually surprised that there are as many as there are. I mean, that's expensive real estate, but you know what? There's a lot. You can sell some good price beer there, and you might as well sell your quality beer there. Mickler in New York City, City Field, Sandlot Brewery, in Coors Field in Denver, Colorado, Bull Durham Beer Company in Durham Bulls Athletic Park, Durham, North Carolina, and Dempsey's Brew Pub at Oriole Park in Baltimore, Maryland. So you've got a good selection of craft beer brewed on site that you can get into. So ball players are also making beer with as collaborations, like here in Terrapin's ATL Brew Lab at Truist Park. They collaborated with Chipper Jones to make CJ10 Kolsch. And Jeff, and I'm not 100%
sure. Jeff Francoeur.
Yeah, I was 100% sure on the pronunciation of his name. On Frenchie's Blues, a blueberry Berliner Weiss. So those are cool. And that's not all for Terrapin. Terrapin is really into baseball. They have a beer that's not actually a collab with a ball player. but it's a riff off of their Hopsecutioner, their very popular Hopsecutioner called Chopsecutioner, and that's aged on Mizuno bat chips. So it's a
bat aged beer.
It's a bat wood aged beer. So chips of baseball bats go into that beer, and it's good. It's got a little bit of a nice little woodiness to it. I have had that one, so yeah. I know you have too, right, Tim?
Oh yeah, I've had that for sure. That I love going to the tap room out there. They've got Fox Brothers Barbecue is part of the tap room there at the ATL Brew Lab. So
fried ribs, maybe.
If you find yourself in Atlanta at the Terrapin Brew Lab, Fox Brothers Barbecue at Truist Park, they do have country fried ribs there, which you should definitely get as part of your life. And Brian, a timely note here. I actually got a text from Chad Martin, one of the brewers at ATL Brew Lab today, mentioning that they have on deck IPA, 3 Up, 3 Down Hazy IPA, and they have a brand new summer seasonal Happy Pills. And they said, of course, their flagship Hellas Lager. So they actually, tonight, Friday night, they've got a 100% capacity game there at Truist Park at the Braves Park. So we actually invited Mark Crouch, the manager there, to join us on the show to talk about beer at ballparks. But he said he couldn't make it because of the full house there.
Because he's serving a beer at ballparks.
That's because he's serving beer at ballparks. Yep. So he couldn't make it along. But we'll get them on again soon. Be a good time to talk.
They had a coffee dunkel. Do you remember what that was? That was also baseball themed, and I love that. And
was it baseball themed? Coffee dunkel doesn't sound very baseball-y.
Yeah, but the name was baseball-y. So yes, maybe the style is not.
Okay.
I think it was a coffee dunkel. Anyway, loved it. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. That's too bad. But obviously at Truist Park, there's going to be a lot of baseball-themed beers there, by name at least. So,
yeah, they do a lot along that theme there.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, speaking of beer for ball games, you could get beer for ball games from Off Color Brewing. So Off Color has a beer for everything, and to show it, they've started their Beer for series of beers. The most recent release is the beer for ball games, and the can shows off their monochromatic mice playing a little baseball on there. So in addition to beer for ball games, they also have beer for brunch, beer for golf, and beer for tacos. So nice. They pretty well got the bases covered there. I'm not a golfer, not a fan of that, but I like ball games, tacos, and brunch. So I could really be down for that.
The glassware for that beer for golf, it's pretty cool. That little mouse. I forget what we've dug up what the mouse's name was when they did.
We had John Laffler on, and he mentioned it there. Yeah.
But anyway, the glassware for that is very cool. I like that. There's also beer for hell, and it's a Hellas Lager.
Beer for hell?
Beer for hell. That's one of the ones they did.
Yes, you can be prepared, right? It's going to be hot. You'll want a beer there. So
Hellas Lager, apparently.
Now, to throw a little drama into the mix, we did see that a tweet that they sent out recently showed that someone else was using the beer for name on some of their beers, and Off Color wasn't real happy about it. So they did express their displeasure in their tweet that someone else was using that name.
I can understand that. I mean, that beer alone, from what I was reading, really made their 2020 almost normal. Like the volume of sales they did for that, it was such a lifesaver for them. I think the beer for golf became their fastest selling beer of all time after they released that, and I think it's just a riff off an Arnold Palmer, So
I mean, I think a lot of golfers golf for beer. I mean, that's a big part of it. I was talking to a buddy the other day about fishing, and said something about, he said he goes fishing every Saturday. I'm like, I usually go to the brewery. I said, so you're getting more fish than me, so I'm getting more beer than you. He's like, I don't know about that. He's like, there's an awful lot of beer involved in a good day of fishing. I was like, that's a good point, man. I can't argue with that. So
once upon a time when I was borderline unemployed, I did that. I went out and hit the lake and multiple days a week and would take a cooler up there and have a few beers while I was sitting there. Honestly, don't know if it was technically legal, but I did it anyway. So
technically legal.
Allegedly.
There's a few places. Were they all in cans, Brian? Did you take glass bottles? Because sometimes that's the kicker.
It's been a while, but I think that they may have, because back in those days we were still
bottles were cool.
All bottles are good and all cans are bad, and you could taste the metal if you drink a can, So I believe there were a fair amount of cans involved or bottles involved in that, but I was very cautious with them, and So
safe.
I never ran into a problem.
Drink safely. You know, a little spoiler teaser for our show this week with Victory Brewing. We asked them to look ahead in their crystal ball and see what they said in 25 years. And I think it was Bill Kowaleski said the demise of cans. They're going to go away. He said we're going to have little pouches with our beer. We're going to be drinking in 0G, and that's going to be 25 years from now. Our self-driving cars will take the wheel for us so we can sip on our Capri Sun pouches of beer.
A beer pre-sun, yes. It's going to be amazing. Our beer bladders, it's going to be amazing. You know, I wonder if people are going to go chasing the hottest new bladder design for beers.
It could be, man.
Like the art on that bladder is so great.
Just get it refillable pouches.
Why not? Yeah. That's the ultimate, and I don't know. That's probably the most environmentally sound thing you could probably do, I'm sure.
But the way we talked about it, I think that we agreed they'll all have to be still, right? You couldn't pouch up a carbonated beer.
Not with very much pressure in it. But think about this. I mean, you know, they've got the beds that inflate, so you can reinforce them enough to take the pressure. I mean, you've got the sleep number. It inflates, and a guy like myself can lay on it and not explode it. So theoretically possible to carbonate it. It may come out of that bag really fast, though. I don't know how they're going to work that out.
I have to see what they can do there. Yeah, interesting.
All right, so let's we'll talk about the beer that I was teasing about looking for myself, but could not find. Boulevard has to commemorate the centennial anniversary of the Negro Leagues. Boulevard has announced the release of Tip Your Cap baseball beer. This beer is a collaboration with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and is intended to highlight the important role the league played in our nation's history. A portion of the proceeds from the beer will be donated to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum to support its mission of preserving and celebrating the rich history of African-American baseball and its role in social advancement in our nation. So looking into it, I haven't seen the beer myself, but the information is it's about a 4.6 ABV baseball-style beer that, quote, pairs well with peanuts, Cracker Jacks, hot dogs, home runs, and extra innings. The beer is going to be available on tap and in cans from May through August of 2021. So be on the lookout for that.
That's pretty cool. That'll be neat to see out there. Nice to see that. You know, I know Atlanta. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name. The Atlanta Crackers, was it called? I think was their. I think I'm gonna chop this to bits, but I think the stadium was across the street from where Pont City Market is here in Atlanta now. And, you know, at the time that was a big Sears warehouse fulfillment. Oh, yeah. So I think the stadium was down there, and I've seen some old pictures of it, or drawings maybe it was. Straight from the can, right, Brian? Is that the proper glassware for a Jenny Cream?
I think so. Honestly, I just felt like switching up beers before we come to a conclusion on the show. So
I gotta admit, I'm envious. I would go for a nice Jenny Cream, man. I gotta admit that looks pretty refreshing there.
I'm feeling very, very refreshed and sporty. Yeah, I feel very sporty.
Sporty and fresh, huh? Mm. You look like a trucker, Brian.
And well, I used to always look like a really bad, like some farmer or something like that when I put it on. I go from being like just me to, oh my God, this guy rides a tractor 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day, you know, doing farming. I'm like, how on earth is that possible? Yes, I do look like a trucker. I was thinking, am I look like a motorcycle guy? No, trucker. I look like a trucker.
It does, you know, hats. I mean, everybody looks a little different in the hat, but that's a pretty big, that's almost like a disguise for you.
Right? I'm pretty
Take the hat off.
Okay.
Take it off. Oh my God, who is that? I don't even know that guy.
I've never seen him before in my life.
Never seen him before in my life. Well, that's like what Siri says when you get a little water on your finger and try to unlock with your fingerprint.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea who this person is. Siri. Well, Brian, more beer, baseball-y beer. AleSmith. So AleSmith has 394 and or 394. I don't know how they pronounce it specifically, but they're bringing back the hazy version, their seasonal hazy version of 394 again this year to coincide with the start of baseball season, or I guess they brought it back. So now 394 is, or hazy 394 is the cousin to the original 394, which was a collaboration they brewed with Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn there for the Padres. So
indeed.
a beer there, and they actually have a little museum there with some of the artifacts.
That's
and
right,
stuff.
they
So
do.
it's pretty cool little baseball museum. So
It's not
Brian,
related to
what?
baseball, but don't they have a cheeseatorium in there too? Or
I
something?
know they
Yeah.
make cheese. They make
Yeah.
cheese. Now you went down to Thomasville, Georgia recently, Brian, and there is a creamery down there. Did you visit the creamery or bring back any cheese?
I did not. I was aware that it was there. I did see it, but it did not. It did not. As you know, Tim, I like the idea of it, but as a guy who's not 100% on board with lactose, I'm not always going to go into one. I thought about it, and I think I'm not 100% sure they were open, to be honest with you, but I thought about it. I saw it. I'm like, should I go in? Like, you know what? I'll just eat cheese. That banner completely wrong. Completely wrong. No. Should I go in there? It's like, no, I will just eat cheese, and then I have to drive back like 3 or 4 hours.
That'd be fun, right?
Not a great idea. And I didn't really have good refrigeration, so if I didn't eat it, so you're 2 days.
Oh my God! Look at all these excuses.
If I eat it,
what does it take to throw some? I've got a Ziploc bag of ice on my desk as my beer cooler today. You could have got cheese back from Thomasville.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, you could have bought it back for me.
Nah. Well, I mean, I could have, but I'm like, I could bring it back for Tim. Like, no.
Fine.
No.
Fine. I tell you what, let's move on to the next story before I dislike you even more.
Yeah, I'm working on it. All right, so Bud Light is giving away 100,000 sports tickets and free beer. And the tickets aren't limited to just baseball. Basketball, hockey, football, soccer games are all on the table. It's a $10 million program, and it aims to get Americans back outside and attending events. And, of course, the subtext is drinking Bud Light while they do it. The actual specifics on how to get the game tickets, the free beer, and the concert passes are still being ironed out, but they've announced it, so you're aware that it's coming, and you've got to keep an eye out for it. So we should start seeing some more information about it pretty soon. I'm guessing that they'll probably be spacing it out, announcing it as it becomes available, different tickets throughout the year. But just keep an eye out, and you might get a free, concert
ticket there.
You might be able to get a game, whatever.
I missed this comment, and now we've talked so much trash, I'm not even sure what he's referring to there. So Let Us Drink Beer said, dude, you've overthought that. And was it the cheese?
Probably.
Was it the juice boxes or juice packs of beer? We've overthought so much today that I'm really not sure what that.
Yeah, what time is it? So that's 2 minutes ago. It's probably the cheese.
Okay, probably the cheese talk there. So we have confirmation.
It's the cheese.
There's too much cheese talk there.
I do tend to overthink things, and all of these thoughts seriously did go through my mind. And I'm like, I don't have refrigeration. If I eat it, I got to drive back 4 hours, and if it's a delicious, soft, creamy cheese, oh boy, it's going to be.
I'm just going to leave this up. I think the cheese is a pretty good statement to make. Yes. It's a good statement to make. And Brian, we all know that if you put a bunch of cheese there, you're going to eat the cheese. So, and you're not really big on restraint.
No.
So
if you look at me, you can probably tell there's not a lot in the way of restraint happening anywhere here. It's
like if someone threw down a plate full of roasted potatoes and smeared a big old raclette melt across it.
I'm going to eat it.
Pop those lactose pills and dig in, right?
That's why I have the lactose pills. I can ask for forgiveness from my digestive system after the fact. So well, and that's the biggest thing. If you've got a hang up over something, or if you've got a weakness, just avoid the thing that that gets you into a problem situation. Problem solved. So,
Brian, have you had Terrapin's Watermelon Goza?
I want to say yes.
Do you recall it? So here's something that I think I kind of dig. That any beer that I've had with watermelon in it has a little of the rindy part to it, like the white part of the rind, which I'm a little weird because I actually enjoy that. I think it's real refreshing. It's watery, but it's got that like green water taste to it. So, but I always get that in a watermelon beer, kind of like drinking a strawberry beer. They always taste like a green strawberry to me. So this is kind of the same with this watermelon beer.
You salt your watermelon, apparently.
I do. I do salt it. Do you not?
I usually, honestly, my wife usually picks it up, and then she'll bring me a bowl of it, and I'll eat it however it comes. So I don't think so, but maybe.
Because you said as a child your family actually thought watermelons were evil and possessed by the devil. Is that right?
No. That sounds like something that would have happened in my childhood, but it is not something that did happen.
All right.
We didn't have ribs or wings when I was a kid, and wings weren't a thing we discussed, but ribs back in those days should have been a thing, but apparently were not. And I forget something else we never had that was weird that we never had it, and I don't know what that was.
Brian, totally unrelated to our news here, but ramble for a minute because I'm going to Google a story.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, many weird food related things growing up. There's I think I invented a food item like an open faced chili cheese sandwich. Are you familiar with this? Did I talk about this? It's basically toast covered with chili, and then you melt cheddar over top of it. And the idea is to kind of try to seal it all in. And
have you heard the term struggle meals?
I feel like I probably have. That would be. I think that would be applicable to my situation as a child. Yes, a lot of hot dogs, open-faced chili cheese sandwiches. I actually came up with that in the family, and it was very popular. So, but we did have, my mom did make some pizza, some homemade pizza. She had a very specific crust that she made, and that was also quite popular. It's not quite a New York style pizza by any stretch, but it worked for us as kids, and my dad loved it. So yeah, it went. So what did you find, Tim?
I did find the story, Brian. I did find the story on Queen Elizabeth, and my window froze. My window froze. So the story I was going to tell is Queen Elizabeth has 2 beers for sale now. And yes, so she has they're made, and I cannot see the story now, Brian, because my window froze on me. But
I might be able to help you out. Are those ones with hops grown on the royal turf there?
I know some of the ingredients were grown on her estate, her farm estate there. So yeah, that is the case, Brian.
Okay, well, that's interesting. The royal hops. I mean, I wonder what variety of hops those would be. Are there any Regal? Is there a Regal hop line? I don't know. It is kind of interesting, though. You might as well put those gardens to good use, right? I mean,
I guess you got to, right?
Especially if they're just exclusively for the royal family to walk around in, because they're not spending a lot of time walking around in those fields, so those gardens. Might as well grow some hops on there. Go with it. It's kind of a cool idea. I want to drink a beer made with royal hops, royal turf hops. Did you find it, Tim? You appear to be looking at something. Well, let's see. I'm gonna take a sip off this Jenny cream. Actually, I think Tim may have frozen. Tim, are you there? Yeah, it appears that Tim has frozen. We'll hang out for a second. We'll see if he comes back. Oh, he's coming back. There we go. Now we've got 2 Tims. One Tim, not enough. Now we're back down to 1.
Boy, technical difficulties have really just had their way with us this week, haven't they?
Yeah. Memory cards dying abruptly. Fantastic. Love it.
Yeah. So as soon as I hit the screen share button there to share that story, it froze up on me. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well.
Anyhow. Well, Brian, I think that about does it for Brews and News here. We've rambled a little bit, talked about our beers, but thanks for joining us for this episode of Brews and News. Make sure to come back and join us every Friday at 8 p.m. Tell a friend. Tell them to come check us out. And remember, follow the QR code up in the corner, and you can listen to Beer Guys Radio. Find your local station or subscribe to the podcast. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.